In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 mistakes that all beginners make when they are building their house. Coming up next. Okay, so the very first mistake that most people make when they are building is that they don't have any idea how much the building project is going to cost in total. So people have like a fair idea, oh, maybe I can use 50,000 cedis to build a house, or I can use 100,000 cedis to build a house. Ladies and gentlemen, that is possible, but not very, very possible. Let me explain. So most people who are going about their daily lives perceive that building takes like maybe $10,000 or $5,000, they can build a house. Yes, you can build such a house, but it may be a house made of straw, it may be a house made of wood. If you're going to build a house, depending on the materials you use and depending on the size of the rooms and the number of rooms, you can actually use 50,000 or 100,000. But most people want this kind of more recent buildings like the one you are seeing on your screen, right? And those kind of houses are not cheap. In fact, even the finishing of a house can be one of the greatest costs when it comes to the windows, the doors, the POP, the tiles, the roofing. Oh my, those can take so much of the cost, right? There was a video where one guy said he used almost $1 million to build his house in Ghana. And I believe him, because the cost of tiles, the cost of security doors, the cost of roofing, everything has gone up if you want a certain quality, right? And what the Maya is also saying, he's selling his house for $200,000. We are going to make a reaction video to that. So if you haven't yet subscribed, kindly subscribe and turn on all notifications so you do not miss that particular episode. Now, the Bible also spoke of a certain man who went to build and he didn't count the total cost of building before he started. And midway into the project, he realized he didn't have any funds, right? So that tells us that before you go into any building project, you really need to plan and prioritize. And a good way to do so, because most people who want to build are totally clueless, is to get a contractor who has experience building. And good news is that this year, 2023, we are looking to help you to build your dream house. And we are taking only 10 clients for 2023 who want to build in and around Accra, Ghana. So if you are ready to go on that journey with us, send us an email. Our link is in the description below. The next mistake that most new builders make is they have designs which don't work, right? They have a lot of redundant corridors within their building plan. And I heard a story where somebody actually said he went to Fiverr, which is like a freelance application where you can get graphic designers, architects, programmers, etc. And he went to Fiverr to get an architect to design his building plan for him. Like, it's not bad to go on freelance websites, but it will be good if the person has an idea of what your land actually looks like, the size of the land, the site plan, can see it, and then can see, okay, this is the slope, this is the angle, and everything, and then draw a site plan which works. And not just any designer, but modern designs don't do a lot of redundant corridors. You can use that space for extra rooms. I remember my dad's house, he built like a 5-bedroom house, and the corridor is so long. Hey, back in the days, it was like the land size was so huge. It's not 100 by 70 that's being sold nowadays for a single plot. The land is big, and he built a big house, and the corridors can build like 2 bedrooms. I kid you not. Okay, so the next mistake that most first-time builders make is to start the building project before they assemble the professionals who are required. Now, if I talk about professionals, I'm talking about the artisans like the masons, the carpenters, etc., right? So you need a team of artisans who are going to start from the foundation all the way to the roofing. And most people don't plan all these things, especially people who love to do it by themselves, right? So you know that you might need a carpenter at some point, you might need a mason at some point, you might need a tiler, etc. Now, these people are not just sitting there waiting for you, right? They may also have like their own schedules, etc. And so before you start, if you want to do it yourself, then you need to make sure that you have assembled them, know their schedule and everything, and plan so that when one phase is completed and you need another person to come and do it, a person might not give you an excuse that they are working on other projects and are not available. That is one very common mistake that people do. But if you work with us or other contractors, then you know that the people have like a pool of resources that they can allocate to your building project. Now, the next mistake that many people make when they are building is they don't ask the right questions, right? So if your contractor says, oh, it's time for buying doors, right? What questions are you going to ask? Most people are clueless. You need to ask a lot of questions to get the right kind of quality and the right price for your door, and to make sure that you are satisfied with the end product of what you are getting. For example, there's a lot of comments talking about people paying a huge amount for roofing, right? So people are paying for, let's say, 0.7 millimeter thickness roof, but they are ending up getting 0.35 millimeter thickness roof because they have no clue. They don't have any idea the kind of questions to ask. How would I know that this is 0.7 millimeter? Right? How do I know that this is 0.45, this is 0.5? You need to ask the right type of question. You need to ask, what are the types of roofs? Don't just let your roofing guy say, oh, we are giving you an invoice for roofing. We'll come and measure the size of your roof and the area and all that, and we'll come and give you roof. Ask questions. What color are you bringing? What materials? How long will it take? You need to find the right questions. And the good thing is we have a lot of insightful videos on this channel. So there's a whole playlist of them. Make sure to check it out, and it will give you an idea of the kind of questions. And if you have any other questions, we'll leave them in the comments below. It can apply to anything, right? Tiles, do we need to buy this type? Why are we not buying this type? If it's doors, what is the best security doors? If it's roofing, if it's windows, what are the types of windows? Is it glazing? Is it louvers? Even for the glazing, there's single, there's double, there are different types. You need to find the right questions to ask, else you're going to be cheated out of your money, or you're going to pay a lot of money for something that you are not going to like and love. And building projects are very expensive. Most people build just one house in their lifetime, right? So you want to make sure that if you are building to live in it, it's something that you're going to love and be comfortable living in it. Hope that makes sense. Now, the next mistake that I've seen a lot of first-time builders make is that they want to cut costs unrealistically, and this doesn't really work. So let me explain. People say, oh, if I am building, I can use, let's say, 20 millimeters iron rod at my pillars, right? Because maybe I'm building a story building, a multi-complex story building. But then I'll say, if the 20 millimeter iron rod today costs about 300 cedis, how much is the 16 millimeter? Oh, it costs 150 cedis. Let's use the 16 millimeters. After all, nobody will see, right? People tend to want to cut costs unnecessarily. They'll say, oh, if Gasem Cement is selling at 94 cedis for 42.5 R grade and Simaf is selling the 32.5 R grade for 65, let's buy the 32.5 R grade. After all cement is cement, right? No. For example, if people want to buy wood, right, they can say, oh, the board is 65, but I can get it cheaper at 20 Ghana cedis. You don't know the quality of the boards, whether there are termites in it, how long it has been there. You have no idea, right? So don't just try to be cutting costs unnecessarily. Of course, we at Africa Building Hub are all for finding ways to save costs, but then you need to make sure that what you are doing is not going to go and come and bite you in the end, because like I said, buildings are expensive. Most people only build one home in their lifetime. Now, the next mistake that most first-time builders make is they want to complete so quickly that they'll be putting a lot of pressure on the builders, right? But when you're building, it's a project that has phases. A certain phase needs a certain period of rest, right? So for example, after you do your foundation, you need to let it set. You need to wait a certain defined period. You can't skip it. And that's why sometimes we see a lot of building projects crumbling down or collapsing, etc., right? Later on in life, sometimes people can build like huge multi-complex story buildings in 1 week, in 1 month. Like you pass the street today, the next time you came to pass, there was a huge story building, and it's just been 1 month. How is this possible? And these are not like buildings that have come like prefabricated or whatever. These are buildings which are using block and mortar. How? And there are so many news items and reports of such incidents. In Ghana, there was a very popular retail, outlet which collapsed in Accra, Achimota to be specific. And when you listen to the reports which came, everybody was complaining that this building came up too fast, right? So you may want to build quickly and start your business or rent it out, sell it, etc. But you need to make sure you are following the right process. The next mistake that most people make is that they don't really plan according to the times and seasons, right? So in Ghana, for example, we have two major seasons. We have the rainy season and then we have the dry season, right? So because of climate change or whatever, nowadays the rainy season can last a very long time, but typically the rainy season is from like May all the way to July. That's the heavy season. And so if you are starting your foundation in the middle of the rainy season, know that it's not going to set easily. Or you are building, you are doing your block work, etc. Know that you are going to really suffer. So you need to plan, okay, I have all the way from, let's say, October, November, December, January, February, March to do anything I can do where the rain is not going to be a major distraction. And so you need to do all these planning when you are building. And if you are still confused and you need our support, you need consultation, you want us to build for you at a fee, send us an email below. Now, the very next mistake that most people make when they are building is choosing a financing option for their building project. Now, what do I mean? You can choose to fund your building project using your own money, right? You can choose that every month, if I get my salary, I would dedicate 5,000 Ghana cedis to my building project. And based on that, it means a year, 60,000 cedis. And if the total cost of the two-bedroom house I want is 400 or 500,000 Ghana cedis, then it's going to take me about 10 years to build, right? But if you look at that plan and you look at the rate at which the prices of materials increase, sometimes it makes sense that you go in for a loan, and let's say 20% CD denominated loan, right? And then complete that building project faster. Especially if you know that you can pay off like maybe in 5 years, 10 years, and you're not going to be so, you're not going to be so tight up because the debt service ratio is going to be a bit low and your family is not going to be too uncomfortable. Sometimes it makes sense to go for a loan. Sometimes it makes sense to get another source of income. But the thing is, the longer you wait, the more prices of goods and services are going to increase. And so sometimes it will be better to go for a loan, complete the building project in 1 year or 2 years, instead of you building little by little for 10 years. And by the time you finish, maybe you spent over 1 million, but you budgeted for 500,000 Ghana cedis. The next mistake that most people make is choosing the wrong contractor. If you choose the wrong contractor to build for you, they might not provide you with certain helpful tips that can help you to save money somewhere. And they may also be looking out for their own selfish interest, and they may not be telling you the truth about your building project, especially if you're living in the diaspora or far away from your building ongoing, right? A good contractor needs to be giving you regular updates on the status of your building. If there are any challenges, if there are risks and issues, the project manager or the contractor needs to give you regular updates to ensure that you are on track. If you are in the diaspora, they need to be sending you drone footage, they need to be sending you videos on the ground, pictures on the ground, so that you don't experience the situation where you've invested a lot of money and then you finally come down to come and check and then you realize, where's the building? There was a similar incident which happened with a very popular influencer in Ghana called Asantua, and I'm going to do a reaction video to that coming up soon. So if you haven't yet subscribed, kindly subscribe and turn on all notifications so you don't miss that particular episode. Now, the next mistake that most people make is doing it yourself and doing it wrong. Now, I know a lot of people are do-it-yourself kind of people, like, I want to build myself. Some people even dig their foundation themselves, they carry their blocks, they lay their blocks and do everything themselves. That's just perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you do it yourself and you make a mistake and you get it wrong, then you now need to go and get a professional to come and redo it for you. Sometimes the cost of rework will even exceed the initial cost of building and getting professionals to do it for you. I know people who have tried to do the painting, but they forgot to paint the windows, the doors, the ceiling, and all those things. Later, they had to go and get a painter to come and do it for them. People are tempted to build by themselves, and even the angles and the levels of what they are doing, not very professional. Last, you go and get a professional to come and break it and do it for you. If you want to do it yourself, make sure you do your research, make sure you have a a professional who is working with you to even guide you throughout the process so that you don't get it wrong and you don't pay for rework. Now, the 10th tip is when you have concerns and you don't speak out, you are going to really suffer and pay a heavy price for it. Many people, when they see something is not going on well, they are not very vocal about it, especially here in Ghana. People don't know how to express themselves, right? So you went to supervise your building project, or you went for a site visit and you saw that the guys are not using the right quantities of cement and sand and water and everything, and they are trying to cut costs for you. You need to speak out because you are the person going to live in the building. If the building collapses on yourself and your family, you are the person who is going to be there, right? So if something is not going well, you are not very sure about the type of materials being used, you're not very sure about the type of doors and other finishing that the person wants to give you, you need to speak out because, like I said, most people build just one house in their lifetime. Now, the final tip, which is a bonus, is that most people don't expect the unexpected when they are working on their building project. They expect everything to go very smoothly, and so they don't make room for shocks and disappointments, for delays, for workers who don't come on time, for workers who travel and abandon your project, for even the price of goods and materials like going up above what they budgeted for. And so people get shocked and they give up on their building project, or they just like delay and the building starts deteriorating. So many things, right? Sometimes you might even lose your job and your regular source of income may not be coming again. So you need to have all these shocks prepared for and put some shock absorbers in your life to avoid some of these things. How many projects have you embarked on that have gone 100% smoothly? Of course, planning is essential to ensure that when you encounter some of these issues, you're able to, solve those issues and you identify your risks way ahead of the start of the project. But make room for shocks, make room for delays, make room for buffers, make room for political unrest, make room for land guards, make room for all manner of funny things which happen in Africa and especially in Ghana, so that you don't get too much shocked and fall sick, get high blood pressure, etc. Sometimes you can even be planning a wedding, the vendors may not come on time. This is a very typical scenario. So when it comes to building, make room for the unexpected. If you found these tips helpful, share this video with many more people and press like so that the YouTube algorithm will know that you liked it. Thanks, be brave.